who has had the biggest impact on your leadership?
There's so many people, from CEOs and business owners to the elite military, pretty much anyone who is leading other human beings and they're leading from the heart, an area of growth and no ego. That's what I'm attracted to.
So my husband's background is the military. He was an officer for 11 years, and just hearing him articulate how he thinks about leadership, I learn so much from him every day. But then my challenge becomes, how do I apply his principles to a very small business in comparison? He would call himself a servant leader, and I subscribe to that belief as well, of just pouring into the people that you're leading to make them better, with the full confidence and knowledge that when you do that, the company gets better.
Regardless if you have a team of 2 people or 200, it's still the same of finding people that align with the vision, align with your values, that fit into the team. We've always wanted to create a company where it's like, we don't have to manage people. We can lead people, but we don't have to manage them.
But the two attributes that I really value in team members and in leaders is that they're both hungry. So they're hungry for more results. They're hungry to do better, to learn better, but they're also humble about the process.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.
I watched a video from Simon Sinek recently that said pressure is a privilege. And I think we're feeling it over on the Freewyld team. We are growing and scaling really, really quickly. So we wanted to take you behind the scenes with what we're dealing with right in this moment, because I love these kind of conversations. So Eric, welcome back to the Get Paid for Your Pad podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you. Amazing. Life is very interesting right now. Our businesses are growing like crazy. All of our team members are having babies. We're adding new team members, new clients. So yeah, pretty exciting. I'm excited about talking about this. I know we're kind of, the topic is kind of open here, but I'm really interested in for us to share what we're learning as leaders as we build these companies, because it's not only are we learning from our own growth, but working with these other, we have I think 44 clients now that we're working with inside a RPM, which is awesome. We're watching them go through all the growing pains as well. So yeah, this topic, whatever we call it, leadership or the pain of growth, pain and pleasure of growth. I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
I am too. I'd love to open. I'm curious, what or who has had the biggest impact on your leadership?
Oh man, that's a great question. There's so many people. So many people. Yeah, I take a lot of direction from and inspiration from a lot of different individuals, from, obviously CEOs and business owners to the elite military, pretty much anyone who is leading other human beings and they're doing it from, leading from the heart, an area of growth and no ego. That's what I'm attracted to. So I don't know if there's one individual that stands out, but there's quite a bit. And I
Yeah.
think most recently, 2 years ago, when we were going through the tough time of trying to figure out how to build a business from scratch, I was finding a lot of leadership skill direction from Jocko Willink, author of Extreme Ownership, ex-Navy SEAL. Now it's a little bit less attack mode, if that makes sense, and more strategic mode. So there's quite a bit. What about you? Anybody stand out for you?
Oh gosh, this is going to sound cheesy, but honestly, my husband's background is the military. He was an officer for 11 years, and it's so interesting watch him adapt. He's no longer in the military. He's gotten out and he's working in a leadership position now in a really big private company where he has, I don't know, 200 or 300 people underneath him. And just hearing him articulate how he thinks about leadership, I learn so much from him every day. But then my challenge becomes, how do I apply his principles to a very small business in comparison? Because I don't think it's the same. I think that we have different challenges and a different time horizon than really big businesses. So what is obvious to him in terms of well, yeah, you just need to have an 18-month plan. That doesn't work
Yeah.
in our world. But a lot of the people leadership stuff, he would call himself a servant leader. And I subscribe to that belief as well, of just pouring into the people that you're leading to make them better with the full confidence and knowledge that when you do that, the company gets better. So that's my inspiration.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really curious because like there's a strategic way of leadership, but then you have the people side of leadership. And to me, it's like regardless if you have a team of 2 people or 200, it's still the same of finding people that align with the vision, align with your values, that fit into the team. This is gonna sound cheesy, but we've been watching Ted Lasso. Have you seen that show?
Yes. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
so
So
good.
I'm new to the whole thing and I'm watching it and I was thinking about it. Watched the episode last night and I was thinking about leadership from the team standpoint, right? It's like I've always built companies. I've always built teams within companies, but it's very similar. It's like the moment that you have somebody who is outside of your culture, or if you have somebody who is creating a bottleneck or chaos inside the team, it disrupts the entire team. But then equally, once you start filling your team with A players and you're leading towards the goal, the whole team thrives, right? So
Mhm.
it's really interesting. One person can truly disrupt the entire flow of a team, and as leaders we have to be conscious to that. And then that's where a lot of the pain comes from, of recognizing quickly that is this person somebody that we can train up and grow, or is this person, regardless of skill set, a good culture fit or not? So is it, we got to let go, the whole thing of firing fast, hiring slow. That's a real thing in business. And yeah, I think everyone, regardless of where they're going with their business, has to pay attention to that. You got to move quick on letting the people off your team that you feel are not a good culture fit, but then level up the individuals that are a good culture fit and have the ability to grow and desire to grow. You can put your effort into training them. So
Yeah.
yeah, what sticks out for
That
you on
cul
that one?
that culture thing is really interesting because you have a culture regardless if you put time and intention into it or not. It's just something that happens by default. And I think that when you and I and Jasper started working together, however long ago it was, there's a lot of alignment in the way that the three of us think in particular, where I don't know, we had definitely had conversations about like culture and the vision of the company and what we wanted this to become. But I feel like it's becoming so much more important now that we're up to, I don't know, the actual headcount on our team. Is it 12,
I don't
14?
know.
What are we at now?
I think it's yeah, I think it's 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 team members, and it's growing, maybe two members a quarter right now.
Yeah. So it's becoming really important not only to have that shared understanding and alignment, which is really important to hire for, like you said, but to start to define and perhaps even on paper, which I resist a lot coming from entrepreneurship, what the company culture is and what actions represent that company culture. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your words, like how would you define the free wild culture? What are some of the unspoken rules or norms that our team abides by?
Yeah, so like to clarify that too, it's just because we don't have it written down into like an employee handbook and all this other stuff, like we have the fundamentals of it. And obviously Jasper and I are coming from building another company that we kind of moved that culture over to over to Freewyld, and now it's kind of growing into its own. And that's something that I really, if you remember back when we first started working together to design the Freewyld brand, that's kind of how I approach this, of like, hey, I have this idea and this concept, but I really want the artist, the team, to kind of develop it into what it's going to be, right? And that's how approaching Freewyld and Freewyld Foundry, I always wanted to see that, was it's not me telling everybody what this is going to be. It's the team members coming together to cultivate something that is true to us, right? But we still have a North Star of becoming a company that we're a hospitality company. We have unreasonable hospitality in our blood, regardless if it's the Freewyld Foundry or the Freewyld Cabin side of the business. And you can see that now, like how we're implementing unreasonable hospitality actions in the company, which is freaking awesome. It's so much fun, and we should touch on that. But then also what's really clear now is really ensuring that we are surrounded by A players, right? That's really, really important. You got to define what an A player is within your company and what that means to you. But once you surround yourself, once you start bringing some A players in, you start recognizing what that actually means, right? We've always wanted to create a company where it's like, we don't have to manage people. We can lead people, but we don't have to manage them, right?
Mhm.
And I see a lot of these companies, especially our clients, some of our clients, they have a management led company, meaning they're telling their team members what to do, how to do it, how fast to do it, how slow to do it, or they'll step in and they'll do it for them. And it's like there's a lot of control there. And that comes from a place of fear, from my experience at least. And that's something as we start scaling Freewyld is I wanted to develop a team of very capable, high level, talented human beings that thrive in their position, but together we make up a awesome freaking team, right? So
Yep.
I think a lot of times too, people will hire one person, but then have them sit in 5 different seats and everyone is chaotic. We have one partner, if you will, that we work with that runs a pretty decent size company, and their business is pure chaotic. Like it's just chaos. Like they don't have clear lines of communication. Everyone's in a different seat. Everyone's a chef, but no one wants to take responsibility. So it's like you can feel that in their culture, and it's very chaotic, but they're doing enough to survive, but they're not thriving as a company. So that's a long response of like, we're getting there, we're developing it. And I think now that we're at this point of business and like going into the next stage, we went through the initial build out and now we're really clear on who we are. Now we can start communicating that and holding our team to those standards.
Yeah. 100%.
What's up, guys? Eric here. And before we dive into this episode, I want to introduce you to our podcast sponsor, Freewyld Foundry. Freewyld Foundry is a revenue management service, white glove, high touch service for the top 1% short-term rental operators. We're currently managing over $60 million in bookings, 1,700 listings worldwide, and we are growing very, very quickly. Our RPM program is a done-for-you revenue management service, and I want to invite you, if you are a short-term rental operator that's doing $1 million or more, or maybe about 15 listings or more, head over to freewildfoundry.com and apply for one of our free revenue audit reports. This is where Jasper and the team will actually take a look at your pricing strategy, audit all of your Airbnb listings, and let you know if you're leaving money on the table. So this is free to everyone who's listening to this podcast. Head over to freewildfoundry.com and apply for your free audit report.
I think a realization that I had, to me, an A player is great at their job. That's kind of a given. But the 2 attributes that I really value in team members and in leaders is that they're both hungry. So they're hungry for more results. They're hungry to do better, to learn better, but they're also humble about the process. So they are open to receiving feedback. They are willing to admit when something isn't their strength. They're willing to spend time developing themselves beyond the workday. That's like core to their identity, is that they're constantly learning and growing. And it's hard to hire for those 2 things, finding somebody that's both humble and hungry. And I think we'll get better and better at it as we're continuing to grow this team. But to me, those are the 2 things that I'm going to look for in the future, is making sure that both of those exist in each of our team members.
I love what you just said, humble and hungry. I love that. Like that should become a core value of ours, because it's true. And we're showing it now. We're being very successful what we're doing with our model, the vision, the team building, like everything that we're doing, the results that we're getting for our clients. But it doesn't come from a place of ego. It comes from a place of serving our clients and then playing the game that we absolutely love to play, right? And it's like we bring in revenue managers that are obsessed with revenue management, right? It's like you talk to our revenue managers and that's all they want to do. That's what they study. They love it. Like, Miles, one of our revenue managers, for fun, will build out systems and spreadsheets on his time off. And he's like, hey, this is what I did this weekend. Look how awesome. I'm like, wow, it's incredible to see that the passion, it lives within the work that they are doing, right? So it's like, how do you find those people? Because ego, if you're building a team of ego, you'll get results. It's one way of doing it, but it can also collapse very, very easily.
Yes. I think that's one of the reasons why, not to toot our own horns here, but you and I work really well together, because I think both of us try to embody that every day that we can. I think there's been lots of examples where you've come to me with an idea of like, hey, I really want to do this. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Let's go. And then we'll come back and be like, hang on, there's actually some things that we need to think about. We need to like adjust the plan. We need to do this. And you're so open to hearing that feedback. Be like, okay, yes, you're right. Like that was a great idea, but we need to think through the execution, and like working through that and workshopping it together without ego is so key to getting the results that we've been able to get. over
Yeah.
the last while. So
I think that's a really important part of leadership as well as you're growing a team, regardless of the stage that you're at, is like as a, especially like a visionary leader, the amount of ideas are nonstop. It's like I'm plugged into a computer that's just feeding me constant ideas and visions. And what I've learned throughout the years, it's like you can't action every single one. Samantha, yesterday, I was sharing an idea I had with her yesterday, and she's like, okay, what do I need to do to help you action on this? Because it's such a great idea. And I started thinking through it, and I'm like, okay, yes, it's a great idea, but it's going to deter or distract the team so much from what we're on right now. And what is the opportunity cost of this? It feels great to have these ideas and express them, and I can
yeah,
kind of see the all the dots connecting, where it can go and like the outcome. But then when you start taking a step back and look at the how of, okay, is this feeding our one thing? Is it going to distract the team? Do we have to build out a whole other team to accomplish this? If we put our effort here, where are we taking effort from? So now I'm starting to ask myself that as questions are coming up or these ideas are coming up. Thankfully I just jot everything down and to get it out of my brain. And once it's out of my brain, then I can look at it and be like, okay, that's a great idea. Maybe one day we'll do it. But I think it's really important as you start growing as leaders, say we have all these ideas, then we have to start asking ourselves, how can the team accomplish that idea and one thing at a time? And it just starts compounding. And once you have something, you can put it on autopilot and then move on to the next project or idea. Or if you're well funded and you move really fast, build a team that can take on all these concepts. But I think at our stage, we can only do one or two things really well at one time.
yep. I think we have learned that again and again. I lovingly call those my good idea fairies. Actually, my husband coined the term kind of like in a half teasing way because I always have this like, oh my gosh, we need to do this thing, or like, I'm so excited about this new thing that I just thought about work, or like, I'm going to do this, this, and this. He's like, oh yeah, but what about the other 7 things that you've been working
Yeah.
on? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's let that idea kind of fly away, and we'll come back to it when it makes sense to allocate resources to it. Yeah.
Unless it's a thing that's like, this is what I've been working towards. This is the thing that's going to truly impact the business or the thing. And like, I'm going to put my energy into creating this, then go all in. Is same thing like how we're even in this position with Freewyld. Like this idea of Freewyld was sitting with me for months and I just kept jotting it down and like going deeper into it until it got to a point where it was really clear I had to make a decision to continue with our previous business or just go all in on this thing. And now fast forward, it's like we have this company and this brand and this whole thing is freaking awesome. But I had to get to a point where I realized like, oh, that's the thing to put my energy into. I'm doing that. Right. So yeah, it's important to check all that.
In retrospect, looking back at the decision, what do you think was the breaking point or like the trigger that made you realize, okay, yes, like I do need to take action on this?
I just realized like our previous business, although it was successful, I never really enjoyed the model. Like the educational side is amazing, but the model that we built required us to constantly put on events and enroll people into the program. And it's a lot. It was a lot to go through. And although the results were amazing, it was really, really hard to track the results of, is this education and the training that we're doing truly impacting the people going through it? And although they were giving us amazing testimonials and saying like, hey, I started this business or I grew my business because of this, it was really hard for us to track that. And that was burning me out. And as I was like thinking of like scaling that business, I was like, okay, where am I going with this? It's successful now, but is there an exit? Can we get it to a point where it doesn't require me or Jasper to be on camera selling and promoting all the time? And then what I found was like everything I was doing for that business felt heavy. Jasper and I had this conversation. It was a very clear moment where I made the decision because he's like, hey, next year we're going to do X amount of dollars, but if we really push, we can do X amount more. And I was just sitting there and I was like, man, I don't care how much you pay me. I'm not going to be excited. I felt like empty from it. Right. I'm like, well, that's not good. I'm like, this is like, you can build boring businesses or you can build businesses that you're not fully passionate about. Like, I don't believe in the whole thing of following your passion. And like, it's like, if you can connect your passion to the thing that you're working on, that's amazing. But just to build a business around your passion all the time, I'm not fully bought into that. So meaning like we can open up a chain of laundromats. I'm not passionate about laundromats, but if we can build a professional business that's pumping out cash, awesome team, awesome service. Like I can have fun doing that. So it wasn't a passion thing, but it was I don't know where this business is going. I'm not having fun. It's making me sick. I don't care how much money we make. I'm not excited about this at all. I realized that it was going to get to a point where I'm not serving the customer or the team efficiently the way that I should. And then we went on that road trip and I was staying at all these different Airbnbs and hotels. I'm just like breaking it all down. And I realized I'm like, I can do that for the rest of my life, regardless of the level of success. Right. Just this morning, Sam is like, all right, dude, like you're working on so much right now. You need to go up to Idlewild and just start raking leaves and working on the property. And then she's like, you just need one day of like swinging a hammer and it just resets everything for you. And then you come back and rebuild again. I was like, all right, let's do it. So that's what I realized. I'm like, I could do this forever, regardless if it's just this one property or 100 properties, whatever. So yeah. And it's been freaking awesome. Now we're in revenue management, which I've never even thought of that it was going to lead us here, but here we are.
And we're having a ton of fun doing it. I'm curious what you said in the beginning. You said that the strategy shifted a bit. So like in the beginning, it was like attack mode, like just massive action, make things happen. And then it shifted into more of a strategic focus lately. What prompted that shift and how are you thinking about leadership differently now?
Yeah, well, I think in the beginning of any business, there's so much uncertainty. Is this actually going to work? Are people going to enjoy this? Can we make it? Can we actually grow this? There's no other revenue management companies out there that are at this level by design. Is that for a reason? Because this is not going to work in the market. Is a service, revenue management service, does that even make sense to grow in the early stages of AI, right? Like where are we going to be in a year, 2, 3, 4 years from now? So all that uncertainty, plus we had no income, right, for a long time, and it was getting pretty hairy there. So for in that early stages, it's just like put the blinders on, put your head down, get to work, and just push through all the things. We had to build everything: the revenue management department, marketing, sales, the brand, the website, like all the things all at once. It's a lot. But then once it starts growing and Jasper started showing me the results and the numbers and like all the things, I realized I'm like, oh, no one's built this before, because it's a very difficult business to grow, and this is the perfect time for us to do this. And it's just aligning for us. And once we got through that major building phase, and honestly, it's like right after the marketing started working was like when the shift started happening for me. Because then I realized I'm like, oh, okay, Kaye's got this is running, it's working. Doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it means like we have something that's growing, so we can continue to figure out how to scale that, but it's working right now. Now let me shift to sales. Let me shift towards enrollment and develop that. And I realize I'm like, this is all business is like you're solving one problem after another. Because once we fix the marketing side and the leads are rolling in, Mariano and the sales team, the enrollment team, are going to enroll the perfect partners. We had 5 join last month. We're probably have another 5 or 6 RPM clients join this month. It's a lot. It's a lot happening. But then that means right away, our fulfillment team needs to be rebuilt, right? Because we're going to hit capacity. And I realized, okay, once we rebuild the fulfillment team, then that means we have to drive more customers. And so it's a constant thing, right? And then I realized I'm like, okay, we're at the stage where we're just hitting all of our goals. We're growing like crazy and it's all working. So there's no reason to attack it anymore. What we should be doing is leading from a place of this is what we're the best at. How do we become even better at doing that? How do we as a team build the culture and like connect all the dots internally and just keep growing the engine while we're also keeping our eye on AI and any other opportunities that we can introduce into what we're currently doing. So it's not an attack side. It's more of like, we're in this growth strategic side, but still a lot of problem solving. I don't know if that answered the question, but that was like a major shift for me personally. And I realized like, holy crap, we got a big team and we have leaders in the team. So that means that me and Jasper are not the only ones making decisions anymore. And we need to pass on the ability to the other leaders in the team to design how this company is going to grow and get through the challenges that we're going through right now.
Yeah, it's huge. I can't remember if you said this publicly on the podcast or if it's just been in internal meetings, but the last couple of weeks you have been asking yourself and then reflecting to the team that you ask yourself each morning, each week, what is the most valuable use of my time this week? Like, what can I fix? What's the bottleneck? What can I put my energy and intention into to make this whole system, this whole machine work better? And I feel like that energy that you've been pouring into like each of these different areas has been a really positive impact. Like you can see the changes in that specific area. It's like that sprint mentality, or like that it's almost from like agile programming where you have a problem, you have a project, you do attack it for a short period of time, you make the changes, and then you move on to the next thing. And I feel like that's such an effective use of your time as the CEO. And I'm learning from that as well in my marketing department to do the same thing and put that concentrated effort in. So hopefully that's useful for somebody that's listening, because I think that I've been impressed with how you've been doing that. I'd love to
Appreciate it.
pick your brain a little bit more on the team management side. So how do you personally balance or think about the difference between holding really high standards and not falling into micromanagement? Because to me, they're kind of like maybe two ends of a spectrum where like on one end, you're like, here's the standard, here's what I expect, go do that. And then you like hands off, let people go versus being in the weeds. Like, how do you balance that? Or how do you know when one or the other is the right approach?
Yeah, I think as leaders, we have to really understand, to your other point, like where our time is going. And at this stage, what I'm recognizing is when we over communicate is when we really understand how to solve the problem or what team member will rise to the top, right? So I can get into the weeds of certain things, but I only have X amount of time to do things. And I was telling Cami, our ops manager, I think yesterday or the day before, it's like I'm getting so overwhelmed with Slack and ClickUp that I'm at the stage now where it doesn't make sense for me to micromanage anything or be in the weeds with anything, because there's so much happening and there's so many decisions that have to be made right now that my time needs to go into leading the team and making big decisions or helping the team make decisions. So I realized like, okay, I can be in the weeds of this thing. So today's a perfect example. We just moved into our new office and the landlord is asking for certain insurance information about the company and all this. And it's in my ClickUp and I keep just like, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Now it's a problem because the landlord's like, dude, I need this info now. And I realized I'm like, I don't need to be the person doing this. Yeah, my name's going to be on the insurance and all that. I don't need to be the person to fill out these forms. I don't need to be the person to collect this info. So although I jumped into that ClickUp task and I did it, I recorded the process and then I trained a team member to take this over and educate it like, hey, this is a perfect example of where I'm becoming the bottleneck here, where you could have taken care of this within 10 minutes and asked me for any other information that's missing and it would have been done. So I'm also looking at, if I do have to get into the weeds, how does that become a training process or a training
Yeah.
point for the person? And then you start realizing, are they following the training? Are they paying attention to it? Or are they dropping the ball and doing their thing again? And it's kind of disrupting it. And then you have to ask yourself, okay, do we need better systems and training here? Or is this person not paying attention to details? And if
Right.
that's the case, then you got to take a different approach.
Yeah, 100%. Or final thing I want to pick your brain on as a fellow leader in this company. How do you personally approach hard conversations? I feel like they're such a crucial part of being a leader. And I feel like it's a skill that I'm developing over time. And I would love to hear your approach.
You know, it's interesting. I never had this skill set or the courage to have difficult conversations I didn't grow up in that ability to have like a conscious, difficult conversation. It was always met with like outbursts and like, I'm from Jersey, so everyone's yelling at each other. And it's like, that's how we deal with problems. We get in our face and we start yelling. And I'm like, okay, well, this is not solving anything. Until I moved into the entrepreneur house, we did a challenge with all the roommates where we would, for a month, every single day, have to have 2 uncomfortable conversations. And it
Ooh.
would be, yeah, it was crazy. It was like, and it could be, like a challenge in any way, like an issue. It could be asking for a discount on the coffee that you're buying. Right. Or for the single guys that were in the house, going up to the lady and just asking for a date. Right. And it's like all those like little things really built my ability and our ability to just confront difficult conversations. And what we realize is that it's really easy to have difficult conversations when you lead with curiosity. Right. So when you lead with ego, when you lead with this is the problem and this is how you fix it. Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. It never goes anywhere. but leading with curiosity. And first, it's like when it comes to the team, it's leading within yourself, being curious within yourself. And I always ask that question: is this a player that can be trained? Do they need better training and leadership to become the A player that I know that they can be? Are they less than an A player? And regardless of the training and leadership, we're still going to run into these challenges. And once you get clear on that stuff, then it's the approaching with curiosity of, this is what I'm noticing. Why is this coming up for you? Where are we falling short as leaders? How can we support more? And listening to the information that you're getting, because that's going to really paint the picture on if you have the right person in the seat that needs the leadership and the training and the support, or maybe they're going through a difficult time in life, whatever that is. But it's always leading with curiosity. So I highly recommend that to people too, is like, challenge yourself to have uncomfortable conversations. I remember just the asking for the discount thing. I think that was a Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
right? It was, right?
Yeah, I
Back
think
in the
so.
day.
Yeah, for like 4-hour work week. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I haven't thought about this in a long time. I think it was a Tim Ferriss thing where he would just go up, and just to build that tool and build the strength to have difficult conversations, he would just, every single time he would buy something, he would ask for a discount and then re-ask for a discount, or like whatever it is that, asking to sit in the best seat in the restaurant versus whatever you're assigned to. Right. And it's breaking those patterns and then leading with curiosity so you can collect the info that you have, collect the information and make a decision. And at the end of the day, you just have to make a decision, and then that'll then make that decision right.
Yeah, I
That
feel like
makes
that's
sense?
such good advice. Yes, it's like it's a muscle being
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And yeah, I also grew up in a family that avoided confrontation completely on the other side. We're all Finnish by heritage, so we just stuff it under the rug and don't talk about it.
Mhm.
So it is a skill and it's a muscle that I've had to learn how to build up over time, as opposed to just saying nothing and pretending that everything is fine, because that's not being a leader. That's not being courageous or humble or hungry or any of those things that we talked about earlier in this episode. So yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Really great advice. To kind of close here, what do you think our one biggest challenge is at this stage in our business, and how are you approaching it?
Oh, that's a hell of a question. I think the biggest challenge in the moment is getting the team. Over the last couple of months, we've added a lot of team members, and we're building everything as we grow, as most companies do. One of the benefits of building the team that we have, a virtual team that we have, is that we can hire the best talent based on them and their skill set anywhere in the world, right? So we have team members everywhere around the planet, which is awesome. But the challenge is everyone's virtual. So it's a pro and a con, right? So like the lack of being in the same room with people solving problems together, there's something that's different. Like when we were all together at VRMA, just those few days, like we really got to know each other. We got to understand how we operate, how we think, how we talk, all of that. When you're running a team on Zoom, there's only glimpses of each other that we're getting. And it's always just in a certain way that we communicate around a certain topic. I think that's the biggest challenge, is how do we get this whole team to really feel comfortable, connected with each other and rowing in the same direction when our team is all over the place, right? Virtually.
Yeah.
So I think that's the number one challenge. And Jasper and I are talking about it the revenue management team over time will probably have a in-person team that Jasper's leading and have an office. I would love to start building a team here in San Diego as well. But in the meantime, it's virtually, how do we get everyone to operate as if they're in the same room together?
Yeah. And just as a aside there, investing in what we call offsite. So like bringing team together, particularly leadership together, to be in the same room and to decide what the strategy is, decide what the priorities are, has been invaluable for us. I know that whenever I've come back from an offsite, I have so much more energy. I'm like reinvested, and it's such a powerful tool to get team alignment, especially if you're operating either a remote environment or like partially remote, hybrid, or even just with more traditional property management businesses. There's a lot of team members that are, cleaning houses, or the maintenance team, or, other people that aren't in the same room all of the time. So bringing people together in the same physical space is really, really powerful. So I agree with you there. And then I would add to it, I think that now that we are like, this isn't the sexiest of language, but like we're out of survival mode now. We're in scaling mode. So now that we're here, really figuring out, okay, what is the big picture? Where are we going? And similar to that values conversation that we had recently on the podcast, like we want to be steadfast in the vision and flexible in the approach. So figuring out that balance of figuring out where we're going and generally how we want to get there, but then maintaining that flexibility even as we scale and grow the team to achieve that end result. So we're actually having an offsite next week. And I'm excited to talk about exactly that.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Yeah, the offsites are awesome, especially at this stage. But I agree. Anytime that you can get the team in one place together to get to know each other, work on problems together, implement together, it's absolutely game changers. So I'm excited for that next week. And yeah, hopefully, with this new office, our plan is to have more offsites, more masterminds, things like that. So I'm excited for that for the new year.
Amazing. And I would love if we continue this conversation. I don't know if anybody has been going over to your LinkedIn and leaving comments over on your posts, but if you are listening to this, I would love to hear from you. What are you working on as a leader? What's your biggest challenge? Come say hi. You can DM Eric if you don't want to post it publicly, and let's continue this conversation. Thank you so much for listening to Get Paid for Your Pad. Eric, do you want to close out with anything in particular?
Appreciate you guys. That's it. Thank you.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for